Welcome to Vehelits. This is the 6th map from Stardate 20x6. We've left the industrial facilities behind and reached the main part of the base, a set of imposing structures towering over the rest of the complex. The core of the base is not far from our current location, but the whole facility is under lockdown. The keycard that opens the path forward is hidden away in one of the massive towers. We must find it. Vehelits is an extremely dangerous level. The structure forms a circle with two major points of interest on the periphery: the space platform that grants access to the towers, and a section leading to the exit. The blue key that opens the way out is in one of the towers, but to get to the platform we need a red key, which is in a heavily guarded central area of the facility. Just like in Mud Bunny, it doesn't matter where we go first, because we're gonna circle around the map anyway. Now, before we get to the demo, I want to get something out of the way first. In the previous videos I've been talking about really inconvenient opening sections in 20x6. However, what you've seen up until now was nothing. Vehelits has by far the worst starting area this side of Stardate 20x7. I'm pretty sure that if I go to hell after I die, then this is what I'll be tormented with. Trying to get through the beginning of this level and dying over and over again until the end of time. I want you to keep that in mind as you watch, because I still have flashbacks from trying to beat this map. So let's have a look, shall we? Oh man, this level. Let's grab all the stuff and head out. The first thing we want to do is to lure the Hell Knights and an Archvile away from the double-barrel shotgun. Preferably we also want the Archvile to infight with one of the Knights. Lowering the shotgun unleashes a couple of cacodemons, so at this point we have no choice but to fight. As always, the Archvile is our primary target. Next I'm gonna flip the switch on the other end of the room, which is gonna unleash a couple of Revenants and another Archvile. This is incredibly stupid, by the way. The chances of failing at this point are very high. The middle section that we just ran through has those purple cavities on the floor, which block the non-flying monsters. So this means that the Archvile cannot actually follow us through here. I tried to get to him from the other side, but apparently the Revenants have killed him. You know, I think this is still too easy and not frantic enough, so let's turn up the heat. First, flip the switch to unleash the swarm of imps, then grab the chain gun to unleash the chain gunners. There's a rocket launcher in a spider pit behind the imps, so we have to lure them out and then make a run for it. Grab the shells, grab the soul sphere, and then drop down. This switch lowers the rocket launcher and drops 9 arachnotrons into this area. I don't really want to say that this fight is RNG, but it kind of is RNG. Depending on how aggressive the spiders are, you may either have a really easy time here, or you can just get killed immediately. So yeah, this is slightly luck-based, and it can go all sorts of ways. And the same goes for the next fight. You flip the switch and an Archvile appears in the middle of a room. If he decides to target you right off the bat, then you have absolutely no cover. Next we're gonna press that button that doesn't really look like it's reachable, but it is reachable due to how line defs work in the Doom engine. This gives us access to the first secret with a couple of rockets in the Soul Sphere, and another nasty ambush. We have a group of Hell Knights on one side and Revenants on the other. I'll try to trigger some infighting, then return to the secret where we're pretty much safe. And yeah, a moment of appreciation for this purple waterfall clipping into the floor. I guess Ribbiks forgot to fix it. If this was a time and place for this, I would tell you all about that bug and how to avoid it. But let's just not get into technical talk here. You know, thinking about it now, I wonder if that secret button was supposed to be reachable with an Archvile jump. I don't think anyone has ever done that, because you can just press it from the ground level. So yeah, I'm just wasting time here trying to get some infighting going. We can actually escape at any point, because even though monsters are blocking us from below, there are ledges around this room, so we can use them to circle around them and drop down. So like I said in an intro, this level forms a circle. We can either continue down this path or head back to the starting area and go the other way. If we continue through here, we're gonna end up in a room with a blue door which leads to the exit. That area is actually probably the easiest part of the level, so we're gonna leave it for last. As always, I choose the path where I can deal with the toughest fights as quickly as possible. So now that we've grabbed the rocket launcher, let's head back to the start. So now we're gonna have a bit of a cleanup, and I finally have a moment to rant about this beginning section. Getting to this point is really hard. There's so many things that can go wrong here, it's unbelievable. I would say about 90% of my attempts ended in those first 3 or 4 minutes. It's really that hard to get here. Of course you might say, well, you've been playing so aggressively before, so no wonder you kept dying here, but you know, trust me, it really doesn't matter. It's like, when I try to go slower, when I try to do this slowly and methodically, my success rate was not any higher. And you know, it's a shame, because I like pretty much every fight in this level except for the starting area. Now, if the beginning was different, this would have been one of the most fun levels in 20x6, even though it's really difficult. But what can you do? Let's kill this archvile and move on. After this crazy beginning, we're gonna have 2 more tough fights before things finally settle down a bit. The next encounter takes place in a large room with a cyber demon guarding a plasma rifle. I want to take care of as many of those imps as possible before alerting the cyber. After that, I'm gonna trigger a really stupid ambush with a couple of pain elementals. Now, I say it's stupid because it's not even a part of the main encounter, so we can just, like I said, trigger it right now, deal with the pain elementals, and then just move on. And that means that it's pretty much just a waste of time. The big encounter here begins when we press the switch on the ledge. Now, this fight is actually kind of similar to a fight from Mud Bunny, if you remember, with a Cyber Demon, Hell Knights on the ledges, and some Mancubi on the ground level, and there were also a couple of Archviles there. So this encounter is pretty much the same, except there are no Archviles and we have Revenants instead of Knights. Though I gotta admit that this one is actually more difficult because we have a lot less space here to maneuver, so it's a lot easier to get hit by something. Alright, let's go for the switch now. As always, the first thing we want to do is to get the infighting going between the Cyber Demon and the rest of the monsters. Then I'm actually gonna try to rush for the switch that's gonna open the exit out of this area, and then we're just gonna cheese the rest of the fight. Okay, so this level is called Vehelits. At least, I think that's how you pronounce it, Vehelits. I didn't know what that meant, so I looked it up, and apparently that's some kind of a boss or mini-boss in Streets of Rage 2. I've never actually played that game, but I checked out the video of that boss fight just to see what apparently inspired this level. Oh yeah, and this is also the same music that plays during that fight. And I feel like I have to voice an opinion here that I really hate this music. I just cannot stand it. When I was demo recording, I just turned it all down and listened to some of my favorite soundtracks, such as, well, one of the best soundtracks ever made, which is music from the first Diablo. I was actually listening to that soundtrack when I got this demo, so yeah, here's a bit of a fun fact for you. Anyway, I think we're finally wrapping things up here. Now it's just a matter of killing the Cyber Demon and then we can move on. The next fight is pretty damn difficult. It's probably one of the toughest fights in the level. It takes place in a large room with a lot of pillars. You press the switch and unleash 5 Archviles into the area, and they come from all directions. And just like every situation involving multiple Archviles at once, this one is pretty terrifying. Objectively speaking, it's actually rather manageable, but you know, with Archviles involved, there's always a lot of chaos. Now it's time to uncover the second secret of this level. We have to press this wall that is slightly darker than others, and there's a switch behind it. Yeah, I'm just being fancy here. I pre-fired the double barrel shotgun because I knew there would be an Archvile coming briefly before teleporting away. Okay, and here's the room. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I actually really like this fight. Well, when I'm not recording the demo. On its own, this fight is a really cool test for your abilities of dealing with multiple Archviles, because you have to be constantly paying attention to what's going on around you. When some of the Archviles are targeting you when you hide from them, well, the other ones might be flanking you and now they're targeting you as well. So what do? How long do you wait? Are the first Archviles done with their attack already? Is it safe to go out? This is a really cool challenge, and despite the fact that in this demo I actually took quite a lot of damage in this fight, I still like it quite a lot. It's pretty cool. Right, so the next room is an area with a red key door that leads to the space platform. This one is actually pretty easy, and that's nice, because we sure need a bit of a break after all this insanity. We have a couple of Mancubi over here and a few Arachnotrons down below. In addition to the red key door, there is also a way towards a large hub room, which kind of is the middle of this entire circle that we're going through. That hub room contains an entrance to the central portion of the level where the red key is. And the fight for the red key is pretty amazing, if you ask me. It's pretty much a signature encounter in this level. I really cannot wait until we get there. Right, over here, if you look very closely, you can actually see the blue key shimmering on one of the towers outside. That's where we want to go eventually. Okay, so this is a pretty stupid trap. We try to go through this little passage and walls open, revealing a couple of Barons and 2 Archviles. And this is just a mean thing to do at this point. I mean, combining Archviles and Barons is always a mean thing to do, because Vials just keep resurrecting those giant sacks of hit points and you have to kill them all over again. I'm just taking my time here. This section and actually the hub room as well are both pretty forgiving, so we don't really have to worry too much about anything here. Well, unless we do this. Now, wasn't that amazing? Truly fantastically played. So in case you're wondering what happened, there are actually enemies right below us. There's some Mancubi down there. And for some reason, the auto-aim decided that it was a good idea to target those Mancubi below instead of the Hell Knights in front of me. Now, to be quite honest, I don't really understand why did that happen in the first place, because that pit is actually pretty deep, so it makes no sense for the auto-aim to target those Mancubi below. I don't know what happened. But I think we can all agree that the auto-aim in Doom has a pretty good sense of humor. Alright, now it's time to drop down. Now this area, it's so giant, it totally looks like some absolutely epic fight is gonna take place here, but no. Nothing scary is gonna happen here, and I'm serious about this. It's just a couple of really straightforward encounters and that's pretty much it. By the way, that passage locked behind bars is leading to the place, to the central area where the red key is. And the red key area is probably the best looking room in the entire map set. Here we have a couple of demons, and they're guarding a switch which opens a way forward towards the next major encounter. And it's gonna be another cool fight. It takes place in a U-shaped room with Barons and a Cyber Demon on one end and a swarm of Khaki Demons on the other. Plus there is also a ledge full of Revenants, for good measure. This switch opens the red key area and unleashes a couple of enemies. And that is rather uneventful fight, if you ask me. Not a very interesting one. There's a couple of Revenants, a couple of Pain Elementals. There's an Archvile in this little tower over here in the middle, but yeah, nothing too interesting. So in the meantime, let's talk about the battle for the red key, because that's actually the next encounter that we're gonna tackle. One of the things that I really like are fights that you look at the setup, and you look at the situation, and your first impression is like, okay, this is impossible, this is completely unfair, it's unbeatable, like, well, what the hell was the level designer thinking when making this? And I think that's pretty much the impression of most people who have ever had to beat this fight. It just looks completely insane, like, you are in a giant square room with pretty much no cover. You go into the middle and enemies, just a gigantic swarm of enemies warps in from all around the place, from absolutely everywhere. There's nowhere to run and there's nowhere to hide. So like I said, at first this fight looks completely impossible, but when you take a bit of time and try to analyze it, you start noticing that this encounter is actually masterfully designed and the enemy placement is very deliberate. The enemies that appear in this fight are Revenants, Hell Knights and Imps. Now, Revenants mostly appear at the far end of the room, and Hell Knights and Imps mostly closer to the entrance. There are also two switches that we have to press, and each one of them releases a cyber demon into this area. And this is something that I'm actually really proud of, because I haven't looked up any demos of this level. I just started playing it with saves before demo recording, and when I got to this fight it took me a while to figure it out, but when I did, it turned out to be a pretty reliable method, and that made me really happy that I was able to figure it out on my own. So this is what you have to do. Press the switch and go around it to keep the enemies on this side for a few moments. Now go to this corner and wait here for a couple of seconds to draw the enemies towards you. Right now you should have a bit of an opening that will let you press the second switch. Ideally you want to stay here until you hear the second wave of monsters teleporting in, but I kinda rush it here. As the second wave begins, circle around and go back to the starting area. You want to keep going left and right slowly to draw the enemies towards you, but still have enough space to move around. It's a pretty scary situation, but as you can see we have mostly Imps and Hell Knights here, so it's pretty easy to carve some space for ourselves. I told you that the enemy placement is deliberate. So if you get to the point where you can just run around everything, you have won at this point, it's over. And now it's just a matter of cleaning up. So like I said, this fight, the first time you see it, it looks unfair. But once you give it a go and try a couple of different things, you're gonna start noticing how the entire setup here, the entire design, is very deliberate and everything's there for a reason. It's a really, really well designed fight, and I really enjoyed coming up with strategies and kind of figuring out how to do it properly. Also, like I mentioned before, just look at how cool this entire place looks. It's just amazing. I like areas like that. They just look heavy and unwelcoming. I mean, it's kind of similar to the final room of Tanagra, where you just look at it and you know something bad is gonna happen there. And that's it. Everything is dead. So let's grab all the good stuff and take the red key. There's actually one more ambush here. Once we grab the red key, 2 Archviles warp into this area. But honestly, even if you don't know about this, this is not a big deal, so it's all fine. It's just 2 Archviles. By the way, this is the room with the blue key door, so this is right next to the spider pit. Alright, so this is the U-shaped room. First, we want to get some infighting going between the Cyber and Barons. Then I immediately want to take care of the Revenants, because they're just gonna keep sniping us from above. We want to get some of the Cacodemons to get to this side so they can also start infighting with the Cyber Demon. There's a window between those sections as you can see, so that makes things easier. We have to really manage our space so that we don't get stuck. That was a nasty hit, but that's fine. It was a calculated risk. We still have that Soul Sphere over there. Now we have to just run back and forth, and I'm still trying to get the Cacodemons to fight with the Cyber. I mean, we could just kill them by ourselves, that's not a problem, but I mean, where's fun in that? Okay, that looks better. Let's take care of the cacodemons that are not infighting. This area is connected to the blue key area, which is connected to the spider pit, so we've almost made a full circle here. However, once we're done here, we're actually gonna go back, because now that we have a red key, we can go to the space platform. Still, I wanted to get this fight out of the way first, because, well, it's a cyberdemon fight in a small area, so it's pretty easy to die here. On the other hand, the space platform fight, I mean, it's pretty dangerous as well, but really, once you get to this point, you should be able to beat the level. Okay, so this area contains 2 secrets. Now you might be looking at the HUD and thinking like, wait, there's only one left, isn't it? Well, there's one official secret, but there's also a super secret. And it's so secret that it's not even marked as a secret. So jump onto the wall and drop down onto the tiny ledge below. By the way, that scary looking place with a lot of blood, that's where the finale is. So here's the last official secret. And to get to the super secret, you need to do some pretty precise jumping, and I want you to appreciate it because I did it on the first try. Now shut that button to unlock the passage. And what do you think? What kind of treasure is hidden there? That's a yellow key. And it says kudos on the floor. Well, thank you very much, but actually I looked it up in Doom Builder. Anyway, let's go to the space platform. So this fight is gonna be interesting. There's gonna be 2 groups of monsters teleporting in. On one hand Revenants, on the other cacodemons. Meanwhile, the Hell Knights will be shooting at us from the towers surrounding the platform. It took me some time to figure out how to do that fight. It's another one of those fights that is really cleverly designed. We're gonna make use of the fact that non-flying monsters cannot cross the purple gaps in the floor. So that's the strategy here. We have to stay on the side of Revenants and keep blasting them with a plasma rifle. Since their warp point is surrounded by the gaps, they can't actually get to us. The cacodemons are also coming, but we don't have to worry about them. We also cannot do anything about the Hell Knights right now, so we just have to hope they're not gonna hit us. Okay, it's time to reposition. This is really the critical moment in this fight. The cacodemons have a very easy time blocking us, so we have to be really careful here. I preferably want as few enemies to die in the middle of this platform as possible, because before we leave it, there will be 2 Archviles warping into this area. Realistically, there's not that much that we can do to make that happen, because this fight is pretty chaotic, but at least we killed a lot of Revenants on the side, so they're not gonna get resurrected. By the way, you probably cannot tell, but we actually started in one of those towers. That's where the first room of the level was before we teleported. As always, I didn't really get a chance to showcase it, but from that starting area we can actually see this platform and the other towers. And also we could see that tower at the end of the last level, which is a nice touch. And we're almost done here, just a few cacodemons left. Those Hell Knights on the towers are actually not that big of a deal, but you have to keep moving to avoid their attacks. Okay, everything is dead. Time to unleash the Archviles. This is actually the point where the Hell Knights start getting in the way, because they force you out of the cover if you get targeted by an Archvile. You can't really stay too long in one place because you can get hit by projectiles, but if you try run out of the cover, then you might be exposed to the Archviles. Alright, so we have to press 2 switches to unlock the teleporter that will lead us to one of the towers. Thankfully the fights in the towers are rather easy and relaxing, so we don't have to worry about them. First up, we have a couple of imps and revenants in the cages. This is very easy, just blast the revenants with a rocket launcher and then finish off the imps. After we open the door, we're gonna have to deal with a couple of Hell Knights and an Archvile. I actually lost a run here once. I came off really badly damaged from the space platform fight and I got hit by some random projectile. This was really carelessness on my part. If you fail here, you have no excuses. Yeah, so here we can just sit back and relax, because we have to kill all those Hell Knights in that tower, and it's gonna take a while. Also, yeah, that tower over there is where we have started the level. You can look out those gratings in the first room and you're gonna see this entire area. I'm really taking my time here. Since I'm not a speedrunner, I don't really care how long the run is gonna be, as long as I get a clean UV max, that's good enough for me. Especially on levels like this, because, you know, if I can beat a map like this, that's already an achievement for me. Like, there's no way I can set a record time on this. Alright, so we have to circle around that tower and enter it from the other side. There's a teleporter there that will take us to the other tower that has a blue key. And here we go again. Time to clear out that tower. So I actually make a pretty severe mistake when I teleport to the blue key tower. We warp into the middle of a room where we have a lot of Mancubi facing away from us. Now what you want to do there is you want to fire your gun, then re-enter the teleporter and go back to this tower. That allows you to lure all the Mancubi to one side of the room, so then when you enter the teleporter again, you have a much easier time because they're all on one side. But the thing is that you can actually re-enter the teleporter in a Mancubi room due to how the Doom engine works. You're kind of stepping off of the platform without falling off of it, and then you can cross the line that takes you back. Now the problem is that I, for some reason, thought that you can step off this teleporter without falling off of it because there's some kind of a rim, like some kind of a ledge, a tiny ledge around it. So as you've seen, I ended up completely falling off of that teleporter, and then I was like, okay, so I'm completely screwed right now? Thankfully I managed to survive that, but it was a bit of a close call. It could have been the end of the run, actually. At this point of the map, we have already passed most of the difficult stuff, so I get kind of careless here. Right, time to secure the blue key. Once we pick it up, a cyber demon is gonna appear on the main platform. This is actually kinda scary because due to how the teleporters are positioned, the cyber demon is very likely to be close to the teleporter pad. And this can end very badly. Yeah, other than that, this is a pretty standard cyber demon fight. We have a plasma rifle, so this is not gonna take long. Our next objective is gonna be to secure the room with the blue door. Like I said before, that room is actually pretty easy, so it made sense to leave it for last. Oh yeah, by the way, I can actually use that moment to clarify something about the previous level. I've already added a note in the video description, but I think I should elaborate on that entire situation. So during the blue key fight in Sector 8 with all the Kaki demons, I said that the fight is difficult because we don't have a vertical auto-aim. Obviously I misspoke there, I meant vertical mouse look. I mean, of course Doom has vertical auto-aim. But what I meant to say about this whole situation was that at the start we can only shoot the lowest row of Kaki demons because we don't have a vertical mouse look, but also because the Kaki demons are so far away that the vertical auto-aim doesn't trigger on them. So what that means is that we have to wait for them to converge on our position before we can actually attack all of them, but at that point we're already surrounded. So that's what makes this encounter difficult without a vertical mouse look, because we have to wait until they get close to us. Now, to be perfectly honest, I think that anyone who by some chance stumbles upon those videos is already a seasoned Doom player, so I think anyone watching that video understood what I meant, but I still felt like I need to give a little bit of a clarification on what I actually meant to say there. And you know, looking at it now, I don't think I even had enough time during that fight to explain all of this. But anyway, that was just a couple of bonus notes about the previous level. Now, I think we should go back to Vehelits. So, as you have probably guessed by now, this is the blue key room. It's connected to the spider pit, the starting area, and the U-shaped room. This is the alternative path that we could have taken. We would go through this area, then through the U-shaped room, then through the hub room, and from there to the red key room. But as I mentioned before, since this area is so easy, I didn't want to waste time in it. I would rather just go straight for the Cyber Demon fight and then into the Archvile room rather than go through this and to the U-shaped room. Before we unlock the path to the U-shaped room, we have to deal with 2 Barons and an Archvile here. There's a couple of easy encounters left here, so let's talk about what awaits us behind the blue door. So what is the one thing that almost everyone hates in Doom levels? What is the one kind of obstacle that drives everyone nuts? You guessed it, it's platforming. Now there's a chance you've seen the very first video I uploaded here, which was the map 10 from Frog and Toad, also made by Ribbiks, which was the most insane platforming Doom level ever created. So, as you can imagine, you're not gonna hear any kind of complaining about platforming from me. But either way, what we're about to face is nowhere near as difficult as that map from Frog and Toad, so don't worry. Now we have to deal with a couple of Revenants here. You might have noticed that Archvile that we've killed before. Now that guy can be kind of obnoxious, so I strafe ran into the building in the middle of this area to be able to hide behind a pillar. That was actually a bit more risky than it looked, because if you fail that jump, and it's actually easy to fail that jump, you're gonna fall into the damage and blood, and then you have to ride the lift while the Archvile is running around. Okay, so I don't think we can end this run without yet another glorious mistake on my part. What do you think? Yeah, so... yeah. I've got nothing. That was magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And that was the easiest part of this level. That's the easiest part. There was absolutely no reason to fight those Revenants from there. I could have easily just backed away and moved to a safer location. But, like I said in one of the earlier videos, my successful demos are often full of stupid mistakes like that, but I don't know, maybe that makes them more entertaining, I don't know. Well, actually I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna be very entertaining watching me run around for close to 2 minutes looking for health and armor. And spoiler alert, I'm gonna go all the way back to one of the towers to grab the Soul Sphere, so yeah, it's gonna be really fun. So in the meantime, let's talk about the finale. The last encounter of this level is pretty interesting. We're in a large square room where most of the floor is filled with damage and blood, and we're gonna have enemies coming from all sides while 4 Cyber Demons roam the area. Now, don't think I forgot to tell you what that super secret yellow key does. It actually lets us open a little closet filled with radiation suits in the last area. And since most of the floor is harmful, that's obviously a very good thing, and it helps us a lot in this encounter. However, I have to admit to the utmost disappointment of everyone who expects a really epic finale to this level, that I am going to totally cheese it. The number one reason I'm doing this is because it took me hundreds of attempts to get to this point, I kid you not. So when I was this close to getting a successful UVMAX demo of this level, I was like, there's no way I'm taking the risk. If I can do it the easy way, then that's what I'm gonna do. However, the other reason is that cheesing this fight is ridiculously easy. So why not? Okay, this is easily one of my top 10 favorite locations in 20x6. It just looks amazing. First up, we have to deal with 6 Hell Knights. This entire place is actually pretty easy, but it's really cool, I like it. It's a nice change of pace from our usual running and gunning, and because I'm someone who really enjoys first-person platforming, well, that just makes it even better. I don't think I would really like the Frog and Toad level of platforming in a normal Doom level, but this is fine. And now, of course, we have Chain Gunners. But don't be deceived, this is actually way easier than it might seem from the outside. As you can see, we're gonna get a Mega Sphere before entering the final arena, so it doesn't really matter how much damage we take. Alright, that Revenant is the final enemy in this area, so we're almost done here. See? It wasn't that horrible, was it? The final fight is pretty cool, but it's a shame it comes this late into the level, because at this point I really do not want to die. So the reason why this is so easy to cheese is because it's not a timed encounter, meaning that all we have to do is press 4 switches and that's it, the exit is opened. First we're gonna go for the switch next to the Mastermind, which is gonna unlock the rest of the fight and open 4 corridors with Cyber Demons. As you can imagine, the switches that open the exit are in those Cyber Demon corridors, so we have to lure them out first. The fight itself involves a couple of waves of monsters that teleport from the 4 corners of this room. So it's really just fighting for space here, there's nowhere to run because the enemies are coming from all directions. But like I said, we're not gonna bother with this. And that's it, the exit is open now. However, since we're going for UV Max, of course we're not leaving until everything is dead. You might remember that we had a pretty good view at the final arena from the U-shaped room, so that's where we're going. Personally, I consider this to be, well, yet another act of mercy in 20x6. I mean, Ribbiks could have easily turned this into a timed encounter and then we would have absolutely no choice but to stay there and fight. Part of me thinks that maybe he was like, okay, this level is already pretty difficult and it's really long, so yeah, let's just let the players escape if they can't deal with this. So as you can see, we have a pretty good situation here. Everything is out in the open, everything is infighting, there's really no danger anymore. Obviously you still shouldn't let your guard down, because once the Revenants start breaking through, you're gonna have a lot of homing missiles coming at you. And yet again, I'm taking my time here. I wasn't kidding, by the way, when I said that this level took me hundreds of attempts, I really meant it. When I got to this point, after 36 minutes of playing, I was like, okay, if I fail right now, I'll hate myself forever. This map was an ordeal for me, it was really difficult. And I don't know, as I mentioned in the beginning, I really would have preferred if this map had a different opening scenario, because that's really where like 95% of deaths happened for me. A couple of my attempts ended in, you know, the Cyber Demon room or the Archvile's room or the middle section, but really those were just a couple of failed attempts, and mostly I could handle the rest of the level just fine, but that beginning was driving me insane. Really, if I could skip the beginning and maybe the spider pit with the rocket launcher, I would probably have a lot more fun playing this level. Fun fact, I actually really hated this level back in the day when I played Stardate 20x6 for the first time. I don't know, maybe it was the music that was just annoying me or something, but yeah, it was like my least favorite level in this set. But after I started demo recording, it turned out that a lot of the fights in this map are actually really cool. And like I said before, I had a lot of fun figuring them out. And hey, we're already done with this. Everything is dead, we found all the secrets, including the super secret, so it's pretty cool. All that's left is going back to the exit. Oh man, it was a long level. It was way too long, especially when you're trying to record commentary for it. I wonder if there's gonna be at least one person who's gonna sit through all 38 minutes of this. But you know what? The last level is gonna be even longer, because it's full 40 minutes. Oh man, I'm not looking forward to this. But the good news is that once we get past that, it's gonna become easier, because levels in 20x7 are way shorter than this. Anyway, we're done here. We've been through a lot, but it's time to tackle the final challenge of 20x6, Magnus.